We're back. Yay!
Hi, Wildflower.
Hi, Carol. Hi, Wildflower. I'm Judy.
I'm Carol.
I'm Peggy.
And we're all Wildflowers.
Yes, and I forgot to mention it the last time, but this is number
60 something?
64.
Today, this one is
Wow.
64.
Yes, today's the 64th.
Oh,
Last one was
nice.
63. So yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
Wow.
because you're doing the one. Yes, I have to. I know. So yeah, now 64 podcasts under our belt.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's more
I'm
than
surprised
their
that we're
weeks.
not famous yet.
I know. What's
Peggy,
going on?
you are famous. You are, and look at you with your
I was just
little
gonna say, I like your little pop of
ruffles. Look
color.
at- She's been fashioning
Yes, I
lately.
love it.
She's been fashioning it up. I'm just
I never
saying.
used to wear sweaters for years. I
Yeah.
always hated sweaters. And now I don't love them, but I do wear them. But in the middle of this podcast, I'm probably going to get up and put a t-shirt on because I'm going to
Is
be
it a
overheated.
texture thing or?
No, it's just
It looks
that
very nice on
clingy,
you.
like it's like,
It's stifling.
Are you
Yeah.
claustrophobic?
yeah, it's kind of like too much.
Well,
touch
it
for
looks
me.
very nice
It
on
does.
you.
Thank you. I do like this one.
Yeah, it
but
fits you
I'm gonna
very
be warm.
nicely. See?
So.
Do we have a little banter? Do we want to talk about what's going on politically,
Oh, God.
No, I don't. I really
emotionally,
don't.
Well, I do have.
sociologically?
I did find an article a few weeks.
Excuse me, I left my.
She's gonna take her sweater off already.
Yeah, I know. So this was an article that I don't know if you want to weigh in on, because it could be.
If I
whatever.
do, I will.
All
If I
right.
don't, I won't.
It was an article, it was the quotation of the day. State police's female troopers warn other women against joining. And they
I
said,
read that. That one was a while ago.
yeah, is it run the other way?
Mm-hmm.
Rebecca Hodgkin, a trooper in New Jersey's state police, on the advice she would give a female family member considering a career in the force, which faces numerous claims of gender and racial discrimination. She discourages them. What do you think about that?
I don't like any article or any sort of opinion which discourages somebody from participating in anything. And
Yeah.
my point of it is because how are you going to effectuate?
Yeah, we have
Right,
to
that-
infiltrate, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Right?
But you know, she had. There's been some really bad experiences, but
Absolutely.
the more women
So did
on
the
the
military
force.
for a very long time.
Yes, I
and
know,
it
and I'm
wasn't
sure
for-
they still do.
They sure did, but it's not for those a lot of the brave pioneering women who took, who brought it to the attention and fought the
Right.
hard fight. That changes are starting to come, and that's in any area.
And I absolutely agree with you. I know what she's saying, and she wants to protect.
I think it's the wrong
But,
approach.
but yeah, no, I think.
I'm going to say flood.
Exactly.
Flood
exactly.
that police
It's
department
one thing
with women
to
applications.
draw attention to
Yeah.
it. This is what's happening there. You know, how can we change this?
Right.
And-
Flood it. Everybody apply.
Yeah.
Let's all become these
Guess
flood
we
it.
gotta apply.
Yeah.
You and I.
Flood. Because we had it's when the reason why I got into the law was at one time, and I never was this person who wanted to be a lawyer, but it kind of is this. I was sitting in the Borders break room at the time reading an article, and I was reading an article about something that was going on in the airlines, ironically, because I do aviation, and about how regulations were changing how they treat animals on board airlines. And a lot of it, and there was an article, there was a quote in there from the attorney who helped change some of these regulations, where he was talking about the process, and he says, and I'm going to bumble up the quote, but it says something like, you cannot seek to change what you do not understand.
Yeah.
And I remember writing down the quote and carrying it with me for a very long time. I actually got in contact with him years later,
Yeah.
and we had a good dialogue. But it's true, you can't change a culture if you don't understand the culture. You can't change a law. You may be unhappy with a law,
Right.
but if you don't understand the way things work or how it became into being, you're not going to be able to change.
Can you tell that
Yeah.
to Ron DeSantis about what he's doing in Florida, please?
Or a lot of that. I mean,
Yeah.
But no, I don't. So yeah, I don't think people should
wanted
stay
to know
away. I think they should join and be vocal.
Yeah, and I do understand where she's coming from, but like, so you would tell your daughters, join.
I would have no if that's what they wanted to do. I would have no problem with them doing that.
Right.
You know, again, it's their lives to live. But I just like I tell them always, is it be aware, be conscious, and leave things better.
Exactly.
You know,
then you chip away at what's not
leave things
working.
better than the way you found them.
Yeah.
That's how. That's my message.
So I think we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
Do you haven't had a word of the day? Do you have a word?
I do.
Oh, but I have a word.
Oh, you go ahead and steal my thunder, Judy. Go
I
ahead.
meant to say it, like, because actually it's not my word. It's one of my daughters. They had a vocabulary test, and I knew like 90% of them. This was one word I didn't know. Puel.
P-U-E-L?
P-U-L-E, I think it is. P-U-L-E, Puel. I should have had this ready to go. Have you ever heard of this word?
Just now, I think. Depends if you're saying it right. I don't know.
I am, because I was saying it wrong before, so here it is.
Sadie.
Oh, she's English.
Puel.
Yes. Oh, P-U-L-E.
P-U-L-E.
Puel.
I know, I don't know what that means.
I don't
I've never
know.
heard it.
It's to cry curiously or weakly, like kind of
like
a
whimpering.
whinging, a whimper.
Yeah,
Sounds like mule. And
Mewling. Yeah.
Sounds the same. Okay.
Yeah, I have one that I never heard of before.
Okay, what is that?
It's weird. Susura.
Oh, susurra.
Can you spell it?
Susurra.
That's
Can you spell it?
hushing. It's quiet.
It's a soft
Soft.
murmuring sound or
Like the-
rustling sound like
the wind.
through the trees.
So we both had sound words.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Look
Yeah.
at that.
I have another one. See if you ever heard of this one.
Okay.
Tussy Mussy.
Oh, tussy mussy. I
Spell-
will use this one, whatever it is.
T-U-S-S-I-E. It's a hyphenated word. F-M-U-S-S-I-E.
Oh,
Tussy
she's a
Mussy.
tussy mussy. I don't know. I've never.
Tussy Mussy. You are not Tussy Mussy.
What does it mean?
It means like a small, like a bouquet. A
Oh.
small bouquet or a nosegay.
Oh, okay.
So
It's
like
Victorian. It was actually very fashionable for women in the Victorian age to carry around Tussy Mussies.
Oh, really?
I said Tussy Mussy.
I never heard of
Yeah,
that.
me neither.
But that was good. That
that's
was
a good
odd.
word.
Yeah.
Those are good ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a small bunch of flowers or herbs.
Okay.
There we are. That's a good
Yeah.
one. I'll use that.
Yeah.
She's gonna use her
Oh.
tussy mussy.
I'm gonna go pick a tussy mussy.
Oh, that's too funny. Well, I
What
guess
is
we
it?
could move
Oh,
on
she's
to the
playing.
one. Yeah, she's
Yeah, I guess so. Oh no, let me just do one of these. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna just.
Oh yay! Okay.
I
good
forgot
idea.
about this. So this is a game room quiz. It's a game, and this is famous women quiz. So I just picked one card randomly, and I'm going to see if they know the answer. And this is an easy one. They're going to know it. Who was the first female justice of the U.S. Supreme Court?
Senator
Senator
O'Connor.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just died. Yeah.
Most of them, because I pulled some
Rest in
randomly
peace.
when I first got it. And like, as with African American people and women, like you never heard of them.
Right.
But they're famous,
Well,
so
I
we'll
wonder
learn
if Elizabeth
something.
Packard's in there.
Yeah, that's true.
I wonder if she is. It's not in any kind of order, and there's a lot of cards here, so
Well,
who knows?
it's going to work with my subject today, but before we
Oh.
move on to that in the book, I guess we have to do the wine
We
tasting.
have to.
Oh, that's right. I have the wine.
And it looks like
All
it's a Beaujolais.
Yes.
It is not a Beaujolais. It's
Oh.
from the Burgundy. It's
I'm sorry.
Let me
your glasses.
Let me get my notes.
That's
So
okay.
it's a Gamay, and the Gamay is grown in the Beaujolais region of Burgundy.
I want to go there.
Okay. All right, let's go. We'll go
I like
next
that word.
weekend.
Beaujolais.
Beaujolais. Beaujolais.
Beaujolais.
I'm
Okay.
dog sitting, and Sadie is being a real pain in the butt.
She's lovely.
Okay, so anyway, this
I
is
love her.
called Beaujolais Villages. It's from France. It's Louis Jadot, and the wine, the grape varietal is Gamay. And I had never
I
heard
never
of
heard
Gamay. Hi, be a good girl, will you? I had never heard of Gamay or tasted Gamay. I was reading about it in Wine Folly, and I said, oh, let me see if I can find one. And I did find this in Total Wine.
Yeah, I've never heard of that either.
No, me
Gamay.
neither.
Okay.
So, varietal Gamay, Beaujolais Villages, France, Louis Jadot, 2022.
Okay.
And it's an easy drinking, quaffable wine made with grapes of the highest quality from the Beaujolais region of Burgundy, France. All right, so this is 100% Gamay. Oh, it's a pretty color.
It is. Too bad I didn't bring my wine color chart.
Oh, I have mine.
What would I say this color is? Is it a garnet?
It looks
Garnety.
Let's see. Let me put this here. Let me look. I think I have my wine chart right
Ooh,
here.
look at this. Smell it. Look at the smell. Smell the smell.
Look at the smell.
Look at the smell.
Look at the smell. Is it purple?
Purple purple.
I think it's purple. The garnet is a little lighter.
It's got good
I
legs.
don't know. This is here's the color.
see.
You guys
Good
decide.
legs, good legs.
Yeah, it does have good legs.
It could be ruby. I'm gonna say ruby.
They're all so close. It's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
We're
gonna
not
say
expert
ruby.
enough yet. All right, so it's 100% Gamay. Gamay. It's a plump wine with notes of strawberry.
That's
Oh.
different.
Should I be saying this? It's too late. I already started reading.
Say it. Go
Yeah.
for it.
Black
You know I'll
cherry
get it
and
anyway.
spice. Okay, it pairs well with hors d'oeuvres, mild cheeses, and poultry dishes.
All right. So let's cheers to the three of us,
Yes,
ladies.
absolutely.
Here we are.
Oh,
To hopefully New Hampshire primaries will not go to
God.
Trump, and we'll. There we go.
That'll be-
I snuck in a
that's-
political there.
I would be great. I would be very grateful and thankful for that.
Is this
All right.
coming this Tuesday, right? So
Yes, Tuesday.
So this will already air after
We'll
the
air,
fact.
so we'll see what happens.
It doesn't have a very a lot of aroma.
No, I didn't smell it. You were smelling it.
I
I mean, you can smell it, but it isn't
Well,
as
I'm
strong
so
as the last
congested.
one.
The last one I could smell. This one I can't smell. I think it's because of my congestion. Are you happy to know that about my congestion? It's smooth.
It's quaffable.
She's
I like
saying
it.
that word.
I like it.
It is good. It's enjoyable to drink.
It's
It's very smooth.
It's very smooth.
it's
I like
definitely fuller body than the Rioja we had last time.
I feel like it's got a higher alcohol content than the last one. Now
The
I
last
could
one
be-
was 14%.
Yeah.
I
No, it
know.
doesn't.
I know.
This is
Wow.
13%.
So you weren't supposed to tell us that. She was
Oh,
supposed to
I
guess.
But it
The
does
whole
have
thing.
it does. I can see why she would think so. Look at the legs on that.
Yeah.
It has very good legs. I would have said 14% on this. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So how much would you pay for this?
You know, I don't know how much it is. I forgot to write it down, and I bought it weeks and
Should
weeks
we?
ago.
It's a good thing she's
You're
got the.
fired.
It's a good thing she's got
Just
the
leave
camera.
the camera on your way out.
It's a good thing she's got the camera. Yeah.
I don't know how much it was.
All right. Well, I would pay $16.99 for it.
I'm gonna look it up. Let me go get my phone, because now I'm curious.
I'll do it. I have my phone. What's it
She's
called?
got her phone.
It's called Beaujolais
Oh yes, Beaujolais.
Villages.
Beaujolais.
Okay.
Louis-
I would
Louis
pay.
Jadot.
2022.
Gosh,
I
I don't
know.
Oh
know.
wow, $11.97.
Oh, see that?
It's $11.90.
Is that the Gamay?
This is.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't even say Gamay. on
yeah, it's
it.
the same
Yeah.
one here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
11
Let me
something.
see. Is it this
11.
one?
Okay. Oh, this is on sale. It was $18, but now it's on sale for $11.97.
Oh, okay.
Because I was saying I would pay.
Where is
16.
that?
This is plummarket.com.
Oh, I wonder what I paid for it in a total
Check
wine.
out plummarket.com. Let's see. Let me do wine.com. See what it is for at wine.com.
Fine. Will you look at me now? Huh?
She's a very
Wine.com has it for
much of a
$12.99. So
Okay.
yeah,
Oh,
right.
well, it's pretty good for that price.
it's very good for that
Yeah.
price.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Highly recommend.
Highly quaffable.
Highly recommend.
I like that word.
She's gonna keep
I
using
like
it.
quaffable.
All right, you know what? We're at the restaurant later.
We're
You
gonna-
need to use that word.
Can I have a quaffable
Yeah.
wine, please?
Ooh, I'm
After this, I don't think I'm
gonna
going to be
give
able
you
to
girls
have
a
a
question
glass.
real
Oh, she's
quick
gonna
before
do
we transition to the
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And I just turned to the first
Oh,
question
okay.
I saw.
Okay.
If you could steal one thing in the world other than money without getting caught, what would you take? That's a good question.
That's something that I'd have to really think about. What would I take?
Ah.
Anything in the world.
If I could steal it, it would probably be some kind of work of art or like a photograph or like a famous photograph or
Read the
work
question
of
again,
art.
because I'm not sure I could.
If you could steal anything in the world other than money without
than-
getting caught,
without
what
getting-
would you take?
Time from somebody.
Mm.
Time from somebody. That they wouldn't have much more time to live. That's what I would take. That would.
Or, you know, one thing could be,
No, go ahead.
no, I said, depending on the outcome, you could,
Yeah.
the election.
Yeah, without stealing it.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. What would I take though? Seriously, without. Okay. A gorgeous villa that would be roomy enough
Oh, that's a good one.
for my family and friends.
So we could have the compound.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's one thing.
Yeah, that's my big
That's-
house I want
that's
to
a
have
good-
too.
yeah,
That's
So
a
you
good
steal
one.
yours, I'll steal mine.
Okay.
But make them next to each other.
Fine.
That's good. That's all
Are you
right.
content now?
Okay.
You
All right, so you're
Oh,
doing
you
the
should
book.
ask one
I do
more.
the book now. All right,
Oh,
so
I
the
do.
book I have, I probably won't do justice to because I finished it quite some time ago.
Okay.
But I did my best. This book is called Quiet Until the Thaw by Alexandra Fuller.
And I love her writing.
I was not familiar with her before. And so I'm glad you read something before of hers. Peggy, I think you said you
I
also
read, yes.
because that's my question for you. So anyway, before I get into it, it's by Penguin Press. It was released in 2017. This is not her first novel. She's got many novels. She's also
Well, is that a novel or is this?
this is a novel.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Because the other one's a memoir.
Okay, yes, she's got memoir. She does short stories as
Right.
well. So I think
I discovered her from the New Yorker, from
You
the
did.
article in the New Yorker, and that's why I had to buy her book.
well,
So-
it's funny because the New York Times did it. Oh, not the New Yorker. Anyway, strike that. Anyway, I picked this up in the library for like.
Excuse me, let's not make the dogs go out tonight.
right.
That was a memoir.
She was the author
yeah,
of
okay.
Don't Let
Right.
Let's Go to the Dogs Tonight.
Yeah, it was weird.
She
the
also
wording.
wrote And Leaving Before the Rains Come.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so I found this at the library. I was drawn to the title only because the title, Quiet Until the Thaw, is actually the first line, is actually the title of one of my favorite poems, which is on my bathroom wall. And has been on my bathroom. And I was like, oh my gosh, so I grabbed it, just not knowing, and then of course she actually has it in the book.
Oh, you must have been through.
I have to read this one.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, this is called Quiet Until the Thaw. Her name tells of how it was with her. The truth is, she did not speak in winter. Everybody learned not to ask her questions in winter once this was known about her. The first winter this happened, we looked in her mouth to see if something was frozen. Her tongue maybe, or something else in there. But after the thaw, she spoke again and told us it was fine for her that way. So each spring, we looked forward to that.
Oh.
Wow.
Now that's a Swampy Cree narrative poem. And I found that poem decades ago. And it's always stuck with me. And I love it so much, I memorized it. It is in my bathroom. You'll have to take my word from it or come to my bathroom. And so I was drawn to it and I go, oh no. Then I was like, do I want to read it because I have such a connection to this poem? Well, what I can say is, and this is the best compliment I could give this writer, is she did this poem justice.
Oh,
Yeah.
She
wow.
did that poem justice, and I appreciate it. Thank you, Ms. Fuller, because that poem is so meaningful to me in so many ways I can't ever articulate. And so to write about a novel with that in mind, thank you. You know, I thought it was really good. Now, she is not a writer that I'm accustomed to, and her style is so different. And I didn't know if it was just this book or if it was just, you know, that's how
Right.
I'd appreciate your input. But the best I could describe it, and I kept having this in here, was, do you know how when you see these gorgeous quilts that are being made, and you see them on display, and quilts are usually made a square at a time.
Right.
that I think is how I got the impression of this book being made.
Oh,
okay.
It was like a square at a time.
Oh, that's so interesting.
And then all came together to form this big quilt. Now, it's not completely cohesive. It's not completely like linear, you know, but it tells a story, which is what all good quilts do at the end of the day. But they also keep you warm, and that's what this book does as well. It's just it's art and storytelling, this book, and and it's very hard to do that because all of her chapters, you would love it, are only like a page or a page and a half long.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So she does that in such a way that you can still be drawn into a story of a larger part, but it's weaved together, which is the heart of Native American storytelling. I'm not Native American, so please don't trash me online, you know, with that. I mean, and neither is she. And it's funny because I read an article from the New York Times.
Australia.
She was raised, I think, in Africa at some point.
Africa.
And then, but she did, I think, live for a couple of months in that part of the town, the part of the country in America, and so she had exposure to it. So there was a very interesting article about, which was favorable to this book despite everything, but it was like, how much credence should we really give to non-native
Right,
authors
it wasn't her personal experience.
who didn't really live this kind of story,
Right.
and that's what because this is really a story about.
When was that published?
2017.
Oh, I was going to say, because now, if they don't publish you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm grateful this book was published. I mean, quick overload. There's two really main characters. One is Rick Overlooking Horse, and the other one is You Choose Watson. They are cousins, but they were both around a similar age, both raised by their maternal grandmother, and they couldn't be more different, you know. So it just kind of shows different person, but yet raised exactly the same way. Now, Rick Overlooking Horse takes a more peaceful path towards life, despite his very kind of, you know, tumultuous broadcast. And he, like the poem says, Until the Thaw, he was a quiet person, didn't really speak much, a man of very few words, very introverted, yet principled, you know, where you have You Choose Watson, kind of filled with, like, you know, anger, power hungry, kind of a loud, aggressive kind of a personality. His path went more towards violence. Now, and while they separate, you never really separate. Your lives are always intertwined, and it really comes together in a beautiful and heartbreaking way. Really heartbreaking, and but yet beautiful, and that's why I know I'm not doing it justice, but it's such a good read, worthwhile read, and it takes place on the Lakota Oglala Sioux Nation in South Dakota, and it really does, it mimics history, I think, all throughout the time, but it's current, and it really just kind of shows how your destiny is really intertwined, and and her language, where she finds these words in such a short way to get the meaning. I cried, I laughed.
Oh, wow.
I look forward to reading this book at night, which is when I did most of the reading of it, and so I look forward to reading more of her. But if you have any interest in Native American culture or just life, I mean, it's a book of life as well. You know, this is a book, and if I appreciated her different style, and I like knowing authors with different writing styles. This is it. You don't. It's easy to read. I think you will really enjoy this book. So I'm going to give this 5 Wildflowers.
Wow.
This was a very good book.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
I did like Don't. I never remember the name.
Yeah,
Let's go to the dogs tonight.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
because that
pick
was
that
about her growing up in Africa, though, right?
I
Wasn't
always
she in
thought
Africa?
I thought it was Australia, but it's been so long since.
I don't know. I didn't read that book.
Yeah,
Right.
it was good. I did enjoy that book, but I read that
I'm surprised
a
because
long,
it was
long
a
time
memoir,
ago.
and you don't usually.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what made me pick it up, but it was
very
quite a while ago.
It was very popular. I'm going to give you this little guy.
Of course, I'll take it.
I'm sweating.
I got you, Mama.
But yes, so Quiet Until the Thaw by Alexandra Fuller. So,
very worthwhile read.
so that's good. Thank you,
Well,
Judy.
thank you. I'm glad I got to tell you about it.
I'm glad I got to hear about it. So it's my turn for the topic, and it's interesting because Peggy shared us about a famous woman. But I'm going to name some names. I'm going to see if they ring a bell with any of you.
Okay.
Moren Sweeney, Emily Warren Robling, Phyllis Wheatley,
Robling sounds familiar.
Harriet Jacobs, Henrietta Leck.
Henrietta?
Henrietta
I'm
Leck.
out.
She's the one with the jeans, Henrietta, right?
Henrietta
Henrietta
Leck.
Lack, is she the one they, after she died, because she
I believe
lived a
so.
long time, and they took her, without permission
Right,
of her
right,
family,
yes.
they took her DNA or her genes, some cells, and to do
Yes.
scientific research.
Yep, absolutely.
That
Okay.
I know.
Okay, and then Moren Sweeney, who it was just in the obituary,
She just died?
January 5th.
Oh.
Moren Sweeney, whose weather report saved D-Day, dies at 100.
Oh.
And I never heard of her,
No.
Huh.
but she gave a weather report that kept them from going into D-Day until they knew the weather was better.
Oh.
And it's a long article, but I was like, again, my topic is women that we don't know of, that were very instrumental in so many things in our life. Lighting okay? Oh, well, that's, you know.
Okay, so what do we got here?
We had a little bit of a glitch. We're just going to be upfront about that. But that's
Technical
okay.
difficulties, it might look a little weird in the middle of the podcast, but I'll try and edit
But
it.
you know what? We're three empowering women, and no one's heard of us before, and that's the topic of nobody. So, I think I mentioned Moren Sweeney, and the thing is about Moren is that she just died, and her obituary was in January 5th.
Wow.
She had a weather report, did weather reports, and she saved D-Day, and she just died at 100 years old. And where is my information about her, because everything got a little,
I'd like to make it to 100, would you?
Only if I'm in very good condition and have my
Yeah.
mental facilities and
Yeah.
faculties
yes.
and facilities. I
Yeah.
want to be able to walk around.
Yeah, I agree. Same here. Well, Maureen lived to that age, and she grew up in County Kerry, in County Mayo, at the age of 18 to take up an Irish woman, to take up the position at a post office. On June 3rd, 1944, she made the first observation of a coming storm that threatened Allied vessels on the English Channel. Following her observation, U.S. Commander Dwight D. Eisenhower agreed to postpone the invasion of France by 24 hours from June 5th to June 6th, after the war. After the war, Sweeney took over the post office, running it until her retirement in the 2000s.
Wow.
She received recognition for the wartime role from the U.S. Congress in 2021. And the thing
Took
is,
them long enough.
I never heard of her.
No.
And so I think this is,
You're right, Peggy. It took them a long time to finally recognize
Yeah.
this woman.
yes. So,
Okay.
all right, so the other woman we're familiar with only because my son's home, the Gilded Age, Emily Warren Robling. She was an engineer known for her contributions over a period of more than 10 years. Sadie, no. To the completion of the Brooklyn Bridge.
Oh.
After her husband, Washington Robling, developed caisson disease and became bedridden. So she took over for him
Yeah.
for 10 years, and she
Strong
never got,
woman.
she did not
Yeah, she
get
didn't
credit.
get credit.
Well,
Yeah.
behind every great man, they say there's
Yeah.
a...
I don't know if this is historically true, but on the show, The Gilded Age, when it was brought up to the men who were investigating it,
Quiet!
about her being at that reception,
Yes, yes.
they said nobody's going to show up at this if they know that a woman
Right.
was in charge of this project.
Right, right.
Which shows
Hey!
Sadie,
the
no.
misogyny of thinking of the
Yeah.
era,
Yeah.
right?
And
Because
it hasn't changed.
it's
To a
changing,
degree,
it's
yeah.
changing slowly. But I mean, that was how.
Yeah.
Why would you support the success of a woman at that age?
Right.
Why? Because what would that mean?
Yeah.
You
Right.
would be elevating a woman.
All right, I'm so
Right.
sorry.
That's all right.
We're just having a lot of glitches today.
That is okay.
This is a guest dog.
Yes, this is a guest star.
She's overstaying her welcome right now.
No,
Yes.
no, we love Sadie.
Go lay down.
So,
Now.
but you know, things are changing, but not, you know, but I think
It's still a very
there-
patriarchal
it is,
society.
and there's a movement
It's,
for us to go
mhm.
backwards a bit.
Yeah.
We're not going to go backwards.
Yeah.
So the next woman that I hadn't, I thought I heard of her because the name Wheatley, the last name sounded familiar.
Wheatley Heights.
Yeah. So Phyllis Wheatley Peters was an American author who was considered the first African American author of a published book of poetry. She was born in West Africa, was kidnapped, and subsequently sold into slavery at the age of 7 or 8 years old. Can you imagine? And transported to North America, where she was bought by the Wheatley family of Boston. After she learned to read and write, they encouraged her poetry when they saw her talent. But the thing is that these white men could not believe that she was the writer of this poetry, and she had to defend her authorship in court in 1772 that she was the writer of this work. And the thought was that they thought that the need for black labor was more important than the need for black art.
Mm-hmm.
So the response to black progress is punishment.
Yeah.
So she wrote some poetry. I'm not going to go into the poems, but if you can look up her poetry, it's Phyllis Wheatley Peters, and she's just such an interesting woman, and she has such an interesting story. And let's see, the next one, Harriet Jacobs. Now this one is just heartbreaking as well. She was an African American abolitionist, and who has an autobiography which I've never heard of called "Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl," and it was published in 1861
Wow.
under the pseudonym of Linda Brent. So I don't know if you need to look up Linda Brent, but it's now considered an American classic. Okay, so she was born into slavery. She was it uses the word sexually harassed, but we know.
Sexually harassed.
Yeah, we know by her enslaver.
She was raped.
She was raped, exactly. And when he threatened to sell her children, I mean, I just can't. If she did not submit to his desire, she hid in a tiny crawl space under the roof of her grandmother's house, so low that she couldn't stand up in it.
Gosh.
And she stayed there for 7 years. So she finally escaped to the free North, where she was reunited with her children and her brother. And she worked as a nanny and got into contact with abolitionists and feminist reformers. So even when she was in New York City, though, her freedom was in danger until her employer was able to pay off her legal owner. So during and after the American Civil War, she traveled to Union-occupied parts of the Confederate South together with her daughter, organizing, help, and founding 2 schools for fugitive and freed slaves.
Look at all she did. Despite
Exactly. Talk about gratitude and about thankfulness that we had talked about our last one. And here is a quote that she is known for. "Slavery is terrible for men, but it is far more terrible for women. No pen can give an adequate description of the all-pervading corruption produced by slavery. Death is better than slavery. But I now entered in on my 15th year, a sad epoch in the life of a slave girl." And so she was repeatedly raped, and she ended up escaping after the 7 years living in that hole. The next one that I want to mention, and I think you kind of knew who she was, Henrietta Lack.
Yes, there's actually a book written about her.
Right.
And I can't remember the name of the book, but it was a very famous book.
Yeah,
And-
I wrote that down, the name of the book. But Henrietta Lack's legacy is eternal. She was born in Virginia in 1920. She worked as a tobacco farmer for most of her life until she was diagnosed with cervical cancer. Without her knowledge or consent, a sample of her cancer cells were taken by a doctor. Researchers who studied this sample found that her cells kept reproducing, ultimately making them immortal.
Wow.
She died in 1951, but to this day, her cells, known as HeLa cells, continue to be studied around the world.
Wow.
Her cells have led to major scientific discoveries regarding the growth of cancer cells and the effects of drugs on the human body. And they've also contributed to the development of the polio vaccine. And her story has brought into question the ethics of patient privacy and has exposed the mistreatment of people of color in healthcare.
I was just gonna say, because you said without her knowledge or consent.
Exactly.
I mean,
They didn't care. She didn't have a voice.
and these are not, this isn't just a skin graft, these are vaginal cells.
Yeah.
Right.
Because she had ovarian cancer, so how did they get those cells without
Right.
her knowledge or consent?
It's just, human beings are just horrible beings. Patsy Mink. She became the first woman of color elected to the House of Representatives in 1964. She was the daughter of second
The
generation.
United States House of Representatives? I'm sorry.
I believe so,
Okay.
yes. She was the daughter of second generation Japanese immigrants.
Oh.
Mink was met with racism when she attended the University of Nebraska. With a knack for public service, she mobilized students, employees, and alumni to successfully fight against the university's segregation policy. After completing her undergraduate education and earning a law degree, she ran for the House of Representatives. She was in office from 1964 to 1977, and then again from 1990 to 2002. One of Mink's crowning accomplishments is the Title IX law, which she co-authored with Senator Birch Bayh, B-A-Y-H. Following Mink's death, Title IX is renamed the Patsy T Mink Gender Equality and Education Act.
Okay.
So, she came, again, I never heard of her.
No.
They just don't get the attention. Faith Spotted Eagle is a Native American activist, peacemaker, educator, therapist, and self-proclaimed hellraiser. Yes, I love that. A member of the Yankton Sioux Nation in South Dakota. Spotted Eagle is a recognized leader of the fight against the Keystone 100 XL. What is that? 40?
That's 40.
40, and the Dakota Access Oil Pipelines. In 2016, she became the first Native American to receive an electoral vote for president, although she was not running. Spotted Eagle is deeply committed to her community. And she's a founding member of the Brave Heart Society. She helped develop the first Native women's shelter, and she provides PTSD therapy for veterans and tribes. A longtime advocate of environmental justice and equality, she told the LA Times, "The resistance has always been in my blood and spirit since I was born." Exactly. Then we have Gladys Bentley, who was a non-conforming icon of the 1920s. Now, have either of us ever heard of her? Never heard of her, neither have I. Born in Philadelphia in 1907, she moved to New York at age 16 after being harassed in her community for dressing in boys' clothes and having feelings for her female teacher. Bentley heard of that Harry Hansberry's clam house in Manhattan was looking for a male pianist, so she dressed in a tuxedo, auditioned, and got the gig. She was a multi-talented musician who also regularly performed as a blues singer. It was known to belt songs about male exploitation and domestic abuse. A black lesbian who often cross-dressed, Bentley famously pushed the boundaries of gender and sexuality while creating spaces of inclusivity. Today, she is recognized as one of America's most successful black entertainers of the 1920s.
Wow.
And once again, I never heard of her.
No.
Finally, Hedy Lamarr. Now we know we know Hedy Lamarr, and we did I think we did the book. I believe I did. I reviewed The Woman in the Room.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So she escaped the controlling husband and Nazi Austria and moved around Europe before crossing over to the United States. While flourishing as a Hollywood starlet, Lamar also exercised her passion for innovation. Sadie. Working alongside George Antel, Lamar created the secret communications system, which was intended to switch radio frequencies amidst the chaos of World War II so that enemies could not decode messages. This technology was later adopted by the United States Navy and serves as a building block behind the wireless communication of today's cell phones, GPS navigators, and Wi-Fi. And if you want to read more about it, even though it's a work of fiction, The Only Woman in the Room by Marie Benedict, I highly recommend. And
She's a good writer. I did
Yeah.
a review of another Marie
Yes.
Benedict one. Was the
Yeah.
other Einstein?
yes,
Yeah, that was good. That was
Yeah.
about his wife.
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
Now they're-
Every strong man is a strong woman.
yeah, exactly. And I just thought it was an interesting topic because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
You know, you hear about these women.
Or you
And-
hear about things, but
Take
you
a
just
card.
don't know how
And
they
let's
how
see
they
if we
go.
know who the woman was.
All right, let me put my glasses on. So you don't look, right?
No.
I'll do the card.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Which author's work was initially published under the pseudonym Kerr Bell? This was just on Jeopardy.
Kerr.
Or no, this was on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Is it George Eliot?
It isn't George Eliot because George Eliot was the
Oh, right,
pen
that's
name.
right. She was the pen name.
yeah.
Right.
Do you
Kerr
want to hear the four?
Kerr Bell.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, the options
multiple
are-
choice.
A. Jane Austen. B. Charlotte Bronte. C. Mary Shelley. D. Louisa May Alcott.
I was gonna say Louise May Alcott.
Maybe, I don't know.
No,
Oh.
Charlotte Bronte.
Oh.
This was on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Oh, wow.
They were repeating
Okay.
the Who Wants to Be a
Yeah.
Millionaire at 11 o'clock during the day.
All right.
And this was the question.
Huh.
Wow, that's
Kerr Bell.
All right, let me do one.
Currer Bell. Currer Bell.
Oh, Kerr Bell.
All right, ready?
Yep.
In what year was the world's first female head of government elected?
1964? Was that what the...
Here are the choices. 1960.
Well, I'm sorry, what was the question?
In what year was the world's first female head of government elected? So was it 1960, 1950, 1970, or 1940?
Oh,
Oh, the
Si-
first female, was it Golda Meir? Was it-
our government or just...
Oh,
Was
in
the world's
India.
first
Oh,
female
the
head of
world.
government.
Indira Gandhi.
Oh.
I'm gonna say, what are they?
1920s?
60, 50, 70, 40.
Oh,
I'm gonna
40.
say 40s.
I'm going to say 40s.
I'm gonna say 60s.
You're right.
Oh, I said 60s first and I changed it.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm sorry about the dog barking.
That's okay.
That's little Sadie.
I'm sorry about the camera failing.
I'm sorry about nothing.
I'm sorry that you have no more wine in your glass.
It is what it is.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you, everybody, for
watching.
joining us. Have
Yes.
a good one. See you next
Thank
time.
you, Miss Peggy.
Okay, I have to get up, don't I? Sorry, I'm not doing well today.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.